can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York.
How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook Live and YouTube. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the Yankees' walk-off victory, spearheaded by long shot J.C. Ascara. New York Knicks repeating history for the second time in 3 days, overcoming a 20-point deficit to take a 2-0 lead over the defending NBA champion Boston Celtics. Oklahoma City Thunder evening out their series as well as making history. Anthony Rizzo returning to the place where he originally started his MLB career. And the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers, longtime Super Bowl rivals, make a deal to improve, hopefully, Dallas's receiving room. And I'm going to ask the question if it was a steal. We're going to start this up in the NBA. As I already stated, New York Knicks coming back from a big lead yet again. Big deficit that they had to face against the Boston Celtics on a night where the captain, Jalen Brunson, was not himself, really shooting the ball poorly. Shots were flat. It seemed like there was a lid on the rim, particularly in the first quarter. Knicks did not have a lead until the fourth. OG Anunoby's opening three-pointer was actually taken away minutes later under review. It was the correct call. And OG was also probably the most unfortunate player in this game, as he had a poster-like dunk over Derek White. Derek White took the charge. Once again, they got that call right as well. I would have to say what's alarming if you're a Boston Celtics fan is that the final 15 shots from the field, the Celtics only converted one. Knicks were up by 3 late. Celtics shaved it down to a point. Jason Tatum had a free lane and took it to the rack, giving the Knicks potentially the final shot. Jalen Brunson was able to get himself to the line, as I stated, on a night where he just wasn't shooting the ball well, able to drain both, giving the Celtics the ball with 12.5 left. Mitchell Robinson did a phenomenal job on defense against Jason Tatum, forcing him to try to make a fall back jumper. And for the second time in the same situation, Mikal Bridges comes over for the help. It originally looked like a block. Ultimately, it was credited as a steal as Tatum tried to get the ball to Jaylen Brown. He throws the ball down the court to a leading Jalen Brunson. No need for the layup. It wouldn't have mattered. Time ran out. Knicks steal 2. And the Knicks improved their road record to 5-0 in these playoffs. You know, unsung hero of the game, undeniably Josh Hart, who just missed his career high in playoff points. He had 23, shooting 9 of 15 from the field, and not afraid to pop the open threes. Hart was set up rather nicely, predominantly by Jalen Brunson. And one thing that I liked about what Jalen did yesterday is that he was able to create a lot of shots for his teammates on a night where he wasn't shooting the ball well. And I think the mark of a great player is acknowledging when you don't have it, but keeping yourself valuable in the game by being a distributor. Because at the end of the day, Jalen Brunson is a point guard, although he is one of the better scorers in the NBA and leading these NBA playoffs in scoring. Second would be Anthony Edwards in these playoffs. But I'll be honest, at no point in either of these games, more so game one, I felt a little more confident that the comeback was really going down. But is this a sign of Boston just falling apart at the seams, or is this more to say about the Knicks? And I'm going to say it's a little bit of both. The Knicks defense down the stretch in the fourth quarter and OT, if you're counting game one, for the second consecutive game was just menacing. They were relentless. They did not give Boston any breathing room. And, part of the Celtics' MO is to take more threes, get more shots. It's part of how they won the championship last year, but it has not been working in these first two games. And the bottom line is the Celtics just haven't shot the ball well at all. One of the chess like maneuvers between Coach Thibodeau, Coach Mazzulla of each team was the Mitchell Robinson effect. The Celtics, in my opinion, played their hand a little too early in terms of what they were trying to do with Mitchell Robinson, trying to get into the penalty a little early to put Mitch on the line. Thibodeau strategically would take Mitch out on offensive possessions, put him back on critical defensive possessions, because Mitch is one of the absolute worst free throw shooters in the association, but one of the better defenders. And Mitch came up big. He is one of the biggest reasons the Knicks won this game yesterday, particularly on his defense. Mikal Bridges really finding his shot in the second half, and it was needed because the New York Knicks run through Jalen Brunson, and when his shot is off, you have to find other guys that are going to bury shots. And Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns asserting himself a little more down low, which was necessary in this kind of physical game. And once again, the New York Knicks do it now. They're going to be coming home to a very excited Madison Square Garden. But I just want to say this as a forewarning to Knicks fans and to the Knicks themselves. It is not time to get cocky. It is not time to get complacent. They have to keep their eyes on the prize, and they have to play much better at home than they did in the previous series against Detroit. Because if anybody thinks that the Celtics are not capable of coming back, they are disillusioned. They're the world champions for a reason. You have to step on their neck. You cannot take your foot off the gas. But I must admit, with 5 games remaining, should the series go 7 and 3 of those at Madison Square Garden, it is hard not to like the Knicks' chances of advancing. And I must admit, I'm rooting for Indy in the other series in the East because it would be ever so poetic after the way last year ended to get another crack at the Indiana Pacers. Having said that, I think the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are the 1 seed in the East, are going to show up tonight. And I actually think they're going to win the game, tomorrow night. I think they're going to get on the board in that series. I think game 3 is pivotal. I expect the Celtics to play their best game of the season. So the Knicks better be ready for a fight. These games have been close, and the Knicks have been mastering winning these close games. And Coach Tom Thibodeau said something rather profound, saying that Jalen Brunson is his best when his best is needed. Getting to the free throw line, creating his own shot on a night where he just wasn't shooting the ball well is everything. And I'm proud of these Knicks. A lot of people thought this was going to be a coronation for Boston, a team that the Knicks did not beat during the course of the regular season. And the second round has been wacky because prior to the late game yesterday, no home team has won a game in the second round. Oklahoma City Thunder completely took care of the Denver Nuggets and made sure that a home team did finally get a win. They are, of course, the 1 seed in the Western Conference, tying an NBA first half record for 87 total points. They put up 145 on the night, just a complete and brutal beatdown of the Nuggets. But the Nuggets did do their job. They did steal game one on the Aaron Gordon walk-off shot. So now it looks like a real series now. OKC, after hearing a lot of whispers about potentially not being as good as their record and not being able to convert that into playoff success, they really stick it to the Nuggets, and now the series will be shifting to Denver. I still believe the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to find a way to win this series. And with the Steph Curry injury right now, hard not to like the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. I look at this Golden State roster and I don't really see somebody that's going to be able to carry the offense. But if anybody's going to be called upon, it's got to be Jimmy Butler. You don't have Klay Thompson anymore. Jimmy Butler has to step up in a big way. But when I think about what Minnesota has to offer, even past Anthony Edwards, you got Rudy Gobert, who is a defensive force, who's going to be able to get on the glass early and often. Former Knicks Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, I expect to have solid games. I think it's just a little too much to ask for Golden State to get back. You can't lose the generational talent like Steph Curry and be all right. And unfortunately, I think that's what Golden State is getting into right now. We're going to shift this over to Major League Baseball. Why JC Escara's story is awesome. Very touching video on social media going into the season when backup Yankee catcher JC Escara was informing his mother that he made it to the show. A lot of this was predicated off of injuries to DJ LeMahieu, Giancarlo Stanton, among others, to fill that roster spot and be the backup catcher for the New York Yankees. Of course, they traded Jose Trevino in the offseason, and he had his first Yankee moment yesterday, hitting a walk-off sac fly to win the series against a very good San Diego Padre team. And by virtue of that last couple of evenings, the Dodgers are back in first in the West. It's a good way to finish the stand, considering that the Tampa Bay Rays, them taking 2 out of 3 in the Bronx, was a little embarrassing. But the New York Yankees currently hold 2.5-game lead over the Boston Red Sox. Those Boston Red Sox welcome back a player that they originally drafted. He didn't get famous in Boston, but he's back in Boston due to the first baseman Tristan Casas' injury. Fan favorite in Chicago, fan favorite in New York, Anthony Rizzo joining the enemies. And I must admit that I'm happy for Anthony to get another opportunity. Anthony Rizzo, truly one of the good guys in Major League Baseball and a cancer survivor to boot. I wish him well. His last couple of seasons in the Bronx did not go well due to injury. The collision with Fernando Tatis a couple of years ago just kind of was the beginning of a domino effect of Rizzo struggling to be healthy. But there's something that I want to call out certain Yankee fans on. This is a guy that so many Yankee fans were happy did not return because of his obvious decline. But the second Rizzo puts on a Red Sox hat, suddenly there's a lot of shade being thrown at Rizzo. It's a business. And, I really feel that Yankee fans should keep that same energy. I just don't care for it. Anthony Rizzo was a good Yankee, not a great one, a good Yankee who gave 110%, but unfortunately, Father Time was getting on him. I do hope that Rizzo has some form of success in Boston. And I also think it's kind of interesting because it kind of adds a little spice to the rivalry should Rizzo hang around a little longer than people expect. They already have Chapman over there. And it's a great, great rivalry. The Red Sox and Yankees is always must-see TV when both teams are good. And right now, they hold the first and second spots in the American League East. Juan Soto been in the mouth of Keith Hernandez quite a bit lately. It seems like Keith Hernandez is doing a bit of hating. Hernandez recently talked about Soto not being a true home run hitter moments before he hit a gargantuan shot. Hernandez has been very, very critical of Soto's fielding, which I understand because I myself have been critical of Soto's fielding when he was a Yankee for the one season. But I must admit, moderately hilarious earlier in the week where Soto hit a deep fly ball, which was caught by Lars Nootbaar of the St. Louis Cardinals. And Hernandez jokingly said that would have been a home run in Yankee Stadium. There is, of course, no love for the New York Yankees by Mets legend Keith Hernandez. Hernandez calling that game of his two former teams, of course, because he was a very good St. Louis Cardinal before becoming a very good New York Met. Like him or not, I think Keith should be in the Hall of Fame. I also believe that Don Mattingly should be in the Hall of Fame. These were guys that were compared often in the 80s. Back to Juan Soto. Two big home runs as it looks like he is starting to find his place in this Mets lineup. Still not the same kind of traction that he had a year ago in the Bronx, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And, his teammate Pete Alonso, Player of the Month in the National League. Aaron Judge, Player of the Month in the American League. The March-April Player of the Month stays in New York 2 times. George Pickens. What are your thoughts on this, football fans, Dallas Cowboy fans? I'm talking to you. I think a lot of Pittsburgh fans that I know and just people that I converse with were saying that it was time for Pickens to get out of Pittsburgh, get a new start, as he's been labeled to be a bit of a head case. Dallas Cowboys did not give up much to obtain him, mainly giving up a 6th-round pick. My question to you, the viewers, is this a good move for the Dallas Cowboys, and does this give them something comparable to what the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders currently have? Of course, the Eagles have Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. The Commanders have Terry McLaurin and now Deebo Samuel. And the New York Giants have Malik Neighbors. And I guess we'll see if somebody else can rise to the occasion and be a consistent number 2 now that the quarterback play should be a lot better in East Rutherford. But I like this move for the Cowboys. I think that it gives Pickens a second lease on life in the NFL. He does have phenomenal hands. And with CeeDee Lamb being a bona fide number 1 and possibly a top 5 receiver at minimum in the top 10, I think it's going to give Pickens a lot of chances to draw more number 2 covers and just be more consistent. And, they're going to pass the ball a lot more in Dallas, and it's a more conducive situation to pass the football than it was in Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh currently doesn't even have a quarterback. So I wonder how DK Metcalf feels about going over there right now with the quarterback uncertainty. I think it is imperative that the Pittsburgh Steelers figure it out and bring in veteran Aaron Rodgers, or if you get a consolation, talk to Kirk Cousins. See if you get him in uniform. But right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers desperately need a quarterback, as they neglected that position in the NFL draft, which leads me to believe that they do have other plans there. What are your thoughts, guys, on the Abdul Carter request? First, with Lawrence Taylor getting denied for number 56. Phil Simms gave him the green light to take number 11, but Phil Simms was outvoted by his family, predominantly daughter and wife. So I'm curious to see, Giant fans, if you guys feel that this is ridiculous that a rookie is asking 2 different legends for their number. Of course, number 1 was unretired this past year as Malik Neighbors took that number with the permission of the Flaherty family. So I am curious, Giant fans, if you guys are sick and tired of seeing numbers get unretired around the league. I, for one, feel that certain numbers just should not be touched. Those 2 in particular, along with 16 of which was Frank Gifford's number, and number 10, which of course was Eli Manning's number. But I must say, it seems like the general consensus with the Giants draft, a lot of experts gave them an A. So I am incredibly excited to see what the New York Giants are going to bring this year. Absolutely love the Cam Scatterbo pick. Absolutely love the way the Giants layered their picks out and really addressed what they need. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Another team I want to shout out, a team that I think really did well during this NFL draft process, is the New England Patriots. I think the Patriots really bolstered their lineup. One of my favorite picks was actually Joshua Farmer out of FSU. They fortify that defensive front. And I truly believe that head coach Mike Vrabel is going to do a lot of good things for the New England Patriots, getting them back to better days. When I look at that AFC East, I am not sold on the Jets, although I do like the Aaron Glenn hire. And I think the Miami Dolphins are in trouble. So we're going to find out for sure what the AFC East looks like. But, Buffalo being a perennial Super Bowl contender right now, I personally think that the New England Patriots are going to have the second best team in that division. Way too early in the NFC East, but I personally think that the New York Giants will not be in the basement this year. The Philadelphia Eagles had a lot of roster turnover, but they are the defending world champions, so they deserve the respect to assume that they're going to be back in first. Washington Commanders, first time in a long time, really a lot of success last year, led by Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels. However, they're going to be drawing a much tougher schedule this year. So we'll see if the Commanders can rise to the occasion with the tougher opponents. And the New York Giants have had a good history against the Commanders, formerly the Redskins. I got the Giants finishing a strong third in the NFC East this year. Of course, it's way too early to predict that. I think Dallas is going to finish fourth, but I think on the whole, the NFC East is going to be very competitive. Very, very competitive. Guys, what are your thoughts about the NBA playoffs thus far? I'm curious to see what you guys think and if the Knicks and the Pacers are going to really pull this off and knock out two of the best teams in these playoffs. Get at me in the comments. Let me know what you think. I am not overly excited just yet. I am happy that the Knicks took two by not completely playing full games. They don't give up. I'll give them that. But the Knicks have got to play more consistently in these games at MSG. And the pressure is going to be on because playing at the Mecca is not always the easiest task for the Knicks. Pressure-packed situation, possibly the livest crowd in all of the NBA. But I expect the Celtics to come back, fight hard, and I still think this is a series. Game 3 is going to be pivotal. If the Knicks could get up to the 3-0 lead, I think it would almost be impossible for them to lose that series. Of course, I want a sweep, mainly to silence some of the cocky Boston fans that I know. Now, I got to shout you out, my friend Steven Ridlon. It's all love, bro. But when you tell me that game 1 was a Christmas gift that the New York Knicks had, I'm going to politely ask you, what was game 2? Was that 3 Kings? At some point, Rids, you got to give credit for the Knicks' desire and the Knicks' relentless motor of never giving up. I understand that it takes 2 to have a result in a game, but it's not a coincidence that the Boston Celtics are shooting the ball so poorly. The Knicks' defense has been pretty damn good, and I'm going to shout out Boston, too. Boston's defense has been good. To hold down Jalen Brunson as long as they did, not an easy task either. But it's still a series. No 2 games are alike. Well, depends who you ask. These first 2 games looked awfully similar. But the Knicks are not done. There's still work to do. Until next time, I am Richie. Please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube, Facebook. Catch us on Instagram. Make it a point to check out the V-Mix, where you can see my guy, Mr. Idris Salam, playing the best of all genres of music, mixed with a few promos for us. Casual Convo, where you also see Idris and the beautiful Miss Coco. Check those guys out Wednesdays, 8 to 10. Make it a point to check out the Bleed Blue podcast as well. Have a great day, everyone, and announcements to come for our next show.